pray with me? Father God, we love you, Lord. We just praise you. We thank you for waking us up this morning. Let's have another day on planet Earth. We just pray that you'll be with those of us in our midst that are going through difficult times. You'll be with them. Use us to minister to them. Lord, we thank you for this thing we call Rotary. You allowed us to be part of it. Be servants to this cause that's there, that's greater than ourselves. We thank you for that. I pray for the leaders of this, that you guide and direct them. Be with those that are going to bring us a message today, Lord. Let us receive that and take it and apply it in our lives. Thank you for this food that you provided for us. Please give it to us in the nourishment of our bodies and us to your service. In the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. Now, join me in the four-way prayer. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all to serve? Third, will it build goodwill and better churches? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all to serve?
Thanks, Bart. Next up, Vice President Cal Jordan will introduce our guest.
Thank you, President Bob. We've got one of those guests, Mr. Rotary, with us today. If you would, when I call your name, stand and remain standing until through this list here. Guest Carrie Beth Randall is Martin Chancellor. Wanda Anthony, guest Larry Anthony. Nick Barber, guest of the club. Tunnel, guest of the club with active team. We have Misty Rotarian, and I think she gets the award today for coming the longest way, President Mark. She is coming from us from Rotary Club of Uganda, Carolina. Apologies on the last name. She's from District 9213. Glad to have you here today. She's a guest of Dr. Susan Sill. Sheila Ritter is a guest of Briar Jones. She's past president of Clarksville Club and director of the Delta Communities. Our other busy Rotarian, Lauren Baker from Columbus, president of Columbus Club. Mark DeBianis from Greenville, Mr. Governor. Ms. Prime, Ron DeBianis, executive secretary. Brooke Eaves, assistant district governor. Bob Graves, past district governor. His wife Carol. Roscoe Green, the Rankin County Club, is past district governor. Sharon Mulder, district governor-elect. Her husband, Gary. Barbara Travis from the Rankin County Club, is past district governor. John Turner from Greenville, is past district governor. Bill Walker from Columbus, is past district governor. And it would also be remiss to introduce or take attention to our past district governors from Starkville, Jack Corbis, Humans, and Will Clippers. If y'all would stand to be recognized. That concludes our list. Let's give them a round of applause. Moving on to our birthdays this week. Dennis Mark will celebrate his birthday on August 20th, and Bill Cunningham on August 24th. Membership anniversaries, John Arledge, the third, will celebrate 4 years as a member of the club. Zach Asher, number 2. Bill Dawson, 3, Mark McGee, 13, and Bruce Rinky, 9. Get done. Congratulations. Our announcements for introductions and announcements.
Next up is our Rotary Mayor.
In 1905, the guy by the name of Paul Baker several friends and professionals to diverse backgrounds and exchange ideas, form friendships, and give back to the communities. Rotary's name came from the group's early practice of rotating meetings in all the offices of its members. They were committed to service and not afraid to dream big. Today, that club now has 1.2 million members. In 1952, 58,000 cases of polio were reported. Over 3,000 died. 21,000 were left with paralysis. Began our fight against polio in 1979 with a project to immunize 6 million kids in the Philippines. We went to Mexico, immunized 13 million children. Then we went to South America, Central America. One nation after another became polio billion to end polio, and teamed with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, World Health Organization, UNICEF, CDC. With our efforts, we even arranged a 4-day ceasefire in the Civil War in Sudan so we could go in and immunize children nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. Today, there are less than 20 people in the world with disease. We broadened our goals. We set sights on providing not only vaccines, but clean water, sanitation to nations across the globe. We built thousands of WASH programs in over 100 countries, $3 billion on life-changing, sustainable projects. We support education. We give scholarships and grants to people who fight for the same beliefs. We give over $7.5 million away yearly to use terms like service above self. We believe in doing good. We want to make the world better. We dream big and have a powerful heart. We're neighbors, friends, leaders, problem solvers who see a world where people unite and take action to create change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. What are we going to battle next? Who's our opponent? We're a team of 1.2 million people and eager to fight, like Paul Harris stated. Whatever Rotary may mean to us, to the world, it'll be known by the results it achieves.
Next up. Just your mere presence, so that's all there is. Next up, we have Hunter Harrington who's going to come and introduce our TPL young leaders. And I will acknowledge that one of us we copied this from you guys, so we're a couple of steps behind, but it is one of our premier programs. And so Hunter, come in and let's introduce our new core.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to introduce the 2023-2024 class of Ottawa Young Leaders Team. Just as a reminder, these young leaders had to go through an extensive process to be chosen, which included a formal application, an essay, letters of recommendation, and a formal interview. So it is a big honor to be chosen. When I call your name, please stand up to be recognized and remain standing until everyone is recognized. And then please hold your applause until the end. So first we have Amy Anthony from Starkville Academy, Celia Bailey from Starkville Academy, Betsy Ray Barrett from Starkville Academy, Bronwyn Barrett from Starkville Academy, Davis Brown from Starkville Academy, Hayes Carver from Starkville Christian, Caroline Chancellor, Starkville Academy, Anna Ford, Starkville High, Walt Neeson, Starkville High, Eduardo Gonzalez Orozco, Starkville High, Mary Reeves Gordon, Starkville High, Maggie Montgomery, Starkville High, Mary Holland Nicholas, Starkville Academy, Mireille Nishikawa, Starkville High, Landry Parker, Starkville Academy, Barrett Easter, Starkville Academy, Allie Randall, Starkville Academy, Claire Reed, Starkville High, AJ Ritchie, Starkville High, Kate Rush, Starkville Academy, Catherine Shapley, Starkville High, Miller Shy, Starkville Academy, Harlan Taggart, Starkville High, and Crosby Taylor, Starkville High. Let's give all these formally kick off the program with a parent meeting tomorrow night, and we'll start our monthly activities in September. I want to thank Rotary for sponsoring this impactful program, the Ottawa Young Leader Committee, which include Kyle Jordan, Martha Wells, David Vaz, Mark McGee, Brad Jones, Chris Farina, Nancy Harper, Congratulations again to all of our October Young Leader participants.
Thank you, Hunter, and for all the work that you do. It just does not happen. It happens for a reason. It's a lot of long crowd. Next up, our announcements. Gary Blair, who is in charge of membership.
Thank you, President Bob. Past International President, National District Governor, past governor, thank y'all for being here today. Membership is our lifeblood. We don't have members. We're not constantly looking for members, and we will get involved. So thank you for the opportunity today. We'll be hosting at Walk-Ons this afternoon at 5 o'clock, a new member and prospective member social. We did this about a quarter ago, and we gained 5 new members from that last social. We have tonight signed up 10 of our members and 10 prospective members to attend the social at Walk-Ons. It's going to be a great opportunity to get to know each other. So if you are a prospective member here today and you have not signed up, it's not too late. Be at Walk-Ons this afternoon between 5 and 6:30, and we'll have some beverages and some refreshments and some good food there at Walk-Ons, and I look forward to seeing you. The President has a goal this year of additional members from our African American international community as well as female members. And I know signed up for the social today, we have some that will fit both those categories, President. Look forward to seeing you this afternoon at 5 to 6:30.
Thank you, Gary. Next up, Chris Farina, who is head of our Community Service Committee.
Hey everybody, so we got a couple opportunities coming up. Anybody can be involved in any of these 2 opportunities. The most urgent one we have is this Saturday, August 26th. We have our service about self. We'll meet at Georgia Blue at 9 a.m. in the parking lot, and it'll go till 12 p.m., maybe longer if you have the time. You can sign up through the link in the e-rotogram. You can email me. If you don't want to do either of those, and you wake up on Saturday morning and you want to do something, come show up. We had Jim Genesee was a game day hero last time, and it was awesome, and a big smile on our faces, so we can't have enough hands. And we'll be helping out the JLK with the Reading Railroad event. Starkville High School, we're doing some gutter cleaning. At Bover Street School, we're doing some painting. Henderson Ward, we're going to fix up some cabinets, take them down, put up new ones in the special education room, and then we're also going to go work at the library as well. So lots of opportunities for people to get involved. And then the second one we have is Wednesday, August 30th. We have Get Swept Up. Sign up on the Sign Up Genius has passed at this point in time, but again, show up in front of the partnership at 7 a.m. Bring a blower, bring some gloves, bring a broom. We're going to be doing some cleanup to make everything look good for that first one. So thank you very much, and we'll see you. Get Swept Up is Wednesday, August 30th, from 7 to 9 a.m. in front of the partnership.
So we've got Sign Up Genius for these. However, if you just show up, we'll put you to work. So 9 a.m. Saturday morning at Georgia Blue, or on Wednesday the 30th in front of the partnership. So please sign up by Sign Up Genius, but hey, if you don't want to go that route, show up. We'll find something for you to do. Next up, we have our Polio Plus brag bucket. Anybody have something they want to brag about? Don't be shy. I'll brag on Cal Brown. Cal Brown is with Starkville Daily News. You pick up tomorrow's paper, chances are on the front page, it's going to be what happened at Starkville Rotary. So we appreciate what you do for us every week. Next up, Jim Genesee, van shuttle driver, pastor at First United Methodist Church, and has nothing to do with Rotary.
Mr. Mark, President Bob, all of you, what a great crowd we have here today. This is great. But I will tell you, as a preacher, high attendance numbers can be deceptive. Way back in the day, a man was traveling out a country road and he came across Methodist And there was a huge crowd gathered outside waiting to get in. And he couldn't figure out what in the world was going on. And he began to discern that in the crowd were all the leading members of all the other churches in the community. There were Baptists, there were Catholics, there were Presbyterians, there were Lutherans, there were Episcopalians, just church after church, so many people. And he didn't understand what was going on. So he finally got a hold of one person who he quickly learned was a Baptist. And he said, well, what in the world is going on? Well, the man said, Joe's mule got loose. The mule kicked Methodist preacher in the head, and the preacher died. And the visitor said, oh, that's terrible. That's awful. They must have really loved this man in this community. And the Baptist deacon said, not really. We all represent our own churches, and we are here to try to buy the mule.
Thank you, Jim. Next up, Stuart Vance is going to introduce our very special guest. Stuart.
Did everybody hear back there?
You got to swallow the mic.
How about that? Okay. Past president, international president, let's start off again. Past international president Mark, district governor Mark, past district governor, President Bob, fellow Rotarians and guests. Today I have the distinct honor of introducing a past president of Rotary International. This is a big deal. We don't get any presidents or past presidents of any other esteemed organization to visit Starkville very often. Rotary president and founder of Rotary, Paul Harris, came to Aberdeen in 1929, and the Rotarians there were so appreciative they planted a magnolia tree in his honor. Then about 15 years ago, President Glenn Estes, Birmingham, came to Jackson. And as I understand it, President Mark, this was about your third visit here in Mississippi. Prior to that, Jefferson Davis spoke here in a nearby community in 1850. So we feel very much loved today. Mark Maloney, born and raised in a farming community in southern Indiana, graduated from Harvard University. He got his law degree from Vanderbilt University and then went to NYU for a law degree in taxation. He is a member of the law firm of Blackburn, Maloney, and Schubert in Decatur, Alabama. They focus on taxation, estate planning, and agricultural law. He represents large farming interests in the southeastern and midwestern parts of America. He has been a member of the Decatur, Alabama Rotary Club since 1980. He has served as president of Rotary International 2019-20 when he successfully advocated for the environment as the seventh area of focus for Rotary. He emphasized strategies to grow Rotary. He presided over the first virtual Rotary convention that was organized in COVID in 2019. Mark is currently a treasurer, a trustee of the Rotary International Foundation, and will serve as chairman of the foundation in 2024-25. Mark's wife, Gay, is in the same, is an attorney in the same law firm, and a member and past president of the Rotary Club Decatur Daybreak. Gay and Mark have 2 daughters, 1 honorary daughter, and 2 grandsons. Please join me in a warm Rotary welcome for past international president Mark Maloney.
Thank you, past District Governor Stewart. This works. Good job. President Bob, it's a pleasure to be with the Rotary Club of Starkville today. I'm honored that we have as guests today District Governor Mark Biasi and his wife, and I think the person who keeps the district running, Rhonda DiBiase. We're glad to have District Governor-elect Sharon Mulder and Gary. Good to see you all again. And of course, a bevy of past district governors. You know, you have a gaggle of geese. Maybe we ought to have a gaggle of past district governors. Anyway, we've got past District Governor Stuart Vance, who is my host this weekend. Past District Governor Roscoe Green. Where are you, Roscoe? Give us a big wave. Over here. Okay, good to see you. Past District Governor Barbara Travis, right here. Past District Governor Bob Graves, over here. Past District Governor Bill Walker. Past District Governor John Turner. And past District Governor Joel Clemens. Great to be with all these past district governors. Now, Stuart gave a great introduction of me. But he got the I state wrong. I'm from Southern Illinois, not from Southern Indiana. I just want to make that clear. Anyway, you know, it's one of those I states up there. You know, it's actually where I live is not above the Mason-Dixon line. Do you know the Mason-Dixon line is the Maryland-Pennsylvania border, and if you run that across, my home is well south of that. But I am a Yankee. I admit Illinois is a northern state, and so I'm a Yankee. I've only lived in Alabama for 43 years, so I haven't passed the test yet. Anyway, in the introduction, he pointed out that I was the president to preside over the first virtual international convention. That is one of those things of which I am proud and extremely disappointed at the same time. We were supposed to have we were supposed to have a Rotary International Convention in Honolulu, Hawaii. Instead, I wore my Hawaiian shirt and Gay was in a Hawaiian muumuu, or whatever you call it, on video from the law library of our office in Decatur, Alabama. That's kind of a letdown in case you couldn't figure it out. And the second thing you may have noticed is that I am a member of the Rotary Club of Decatur, Alabama. But my wife is a member of the Rotary Club of Decatur, Daybreak, Alabama. We are not in the same Rotary Club. She claims there is no Rotary Club in the world big enough for both of us. During a Rotarian's year as president of Rotary International, that Rotarian has the opportunity to establish a theme for the year. And you may have noticed, we've seen on the screen that this year's theme is Create Hope in the World. But in 2019-2020, the theme of Rotary International that you see next to the Rotary logo up there on the screen is Rotary Connects the World. And little did we realize until March of 2020 how much Rotary does connect the world and how connection was such a big thing for us during those pandemic times. Now I'm serving as a trustee of the Rotary Foundation and will be the chair of the trustees next Rotary year. And I have thought about the work of the Rotary Foundation and realized that the Rotary Foundation also connects the world. It connects us to various parts of the world. For example, it connects us to Pakistan and Afghanistan. You know, we all have a real close relationship with Pakistan and Afghanistan. Those are difficult parts of the world, but we saw in the Rotary Minute about our efforts to eradicate polio from the world, and we will achieve that goal. Here in 2023, there have been only 7 cases of wild virus polio so far this year. 5 of those cases have been in Afghanistan and 2 in Pakistan. And you may think, oh, Pakistan has hundreds of millions of people. And you may think, how are we ever going to accomplish that? Well, when you think about India, which has just, a couple months ago surpassed China as the nation with the largest population in the world, and the last case of polio in India happened in 2011. If we can do it in India, we can do it anywhere. But polio exists in very limited areas. In Pakistan, there are 180 governmental districts, not Rotary districts, but governmental districts. Polio, the wild virus polio cases that we have had in the past couple of years have occurred only in 3 of those 180 districts. So it's a very limited geographic area. And once again, in Afghanistan, the cases are just along the southern border with Pakistan. So we have a tremendous chance of success. We will be successful in eradicating polio because we are focused on those areas, and we even have the Pakistani military focused on those areas, and which has resulted in the improvements that we've seen where we've only had 2 cases so far this year. We must remain vigilant because as long as polio exists anywhere, it can pop up somewhere on the other side of the globe. Late last year, a case of circulating vaccine-derived polio occurred in Rockland County, New York. And Rockland County is the first county in New York, north of New Jersey, on the west side of the Hudson River. And my daughter and her husband and my 2 grandsons live in Ossining, New York. And they live at the top of a ridge and look down at the Hudson River and across the river to Rockland County. That's how close polio is to my family. Now, my family's all vaccinated. It's not an issue for them. But there are others who have missed those vaccines, just like this gentleman, this adult gentleman who was infected, and it can happen to anyone. Rotary also connects us, the Rotary Foundation also connects us to the United Kingdom, to Sweden, to Australia, to Japan, to North Carolina, to Uganda, and to Turkey. Now, some of you will realize with that list of countries that I am talking about the Rotary Peace Centers. The Rotary Foundation is funding 5 graduate degree master's programs in peace and conflict resolution at the University of Bradford in the United Kingdom, at Uppsala University in Sweden, at the University of Queensland in Australia, at a joint center for the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and Duke in North Carolina, and at International Christian University in Japan. We have professional development mid-career certificate programs at Makerere University in Uganda. And we have just within the last several months announced that we will have a new center at Bacha Shahir University. I practice saying that a lot. Bacha Shahir University in Istanbul. Our first Rotary Peace Center in a Muslim country and in the Middle East, North Africa area. And that Peace Center is fully funded by a grant of $15.5 million from the Fran and Otto Walter Foundation. That will provide us with the endowment, with the startup money, and the endowment necessary to run the program and provide the scholarships for 10 students every year to participate in that 2-year program. And I'm excited because the center will be open and dedicated during my term as chair of trustees of the Rotary Foundation. So I've already got on my calendar a trip marked to Istanbul in February 2025, along with our then president of Rotary International, Stephanie Urchin. You know, at the foundation, we're focusing on measurable impact and making a difference that can be seen, felt, and measured. And one way that we're doing that is with a relatively new program called Programs of Scale. And that connects us to Zambia, to Nigeria, and to Egypt. Each Rotary year, we select a high-impact, member-led program. We look both for a track record of successful results in partnership with others within one of our 7 areas of focus, as well as the readiness to help more people in more places. Then we provide a grant of $2 million to scale up that program over 3 to 5 years. So this, and I had a Rotarian ask me about this, we need to start thinking about what happens after polio eradication. A Rotarian asked me this morning. And this Programs of Scale is a training ground for testing out different types of projects that could, not saying they will be, that could be the next corporate program for Rotary International. Now, the first Programs of Scale grant was awarded just 2.5 years ago to Partners for a Malaria-Free Zambia. And this program aims to reduce the incidence of malaria, especially those incidences of severe illness that cause the death of children under the age of 5 and expectant mothers in 10 target districts in 2 provinces of Zambia. The Rotary Foundation is joined by World Vision USA and by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in funding this program. Our grant is $2 million. and each of those other organizations are contributing $2 million for a total commitment of $6 million. That program has been so successful in bringing healthcare information into the local communities that World Vision and the Gates Foundation have come to Rotary and said, we need to scale this up even further. And so we now have a commitment that the Rotary Foundation will put in $10 million, and that World Vision and Gates will put in each another $10 million for a total of $30 million beyond the 6 that's already in, to scale this up into a much larger geographic area in Central and Southern Africa, and also dealing with other diseases beyond malaria, particularly childhood diarrhea that creates dehydration issues for young children. And so this is a program in which Rotarians are undertaking large impact activities. Our second grant was to the program Together for Health Families in Nigeria, which is working to reduce maternal and infant mortality rates by improving health-seeking behavior and quality care for pregnant women, mothers, and newborns across 4 states in Nigeria. And at the Melbourne Convention just a few months ago in May in Australia, President Jennifer Jones announced that our third Programs of Scale grant is going to a program to eliminate cervical cancer in the entire country of Egypt. You know, we've already seen success with that. The Rotary Club of Birmingham, Alabama has a partnership with the Rotary Club of Colombo, Sri Lanka in an effort to eradicate cervical cancer in Sri Lanka. But this will be, you know, Sri Lanka is a relatively small island. Now we're moving into a larger venue with the country of Egypt. The Rotary Foundation also connects us to Ukraine, Syria, Turkey, Pakistan, and other disaster areas. You know, our foundation's greatest success has been our response to the terrible situation in Ukraine. On February 24, 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. On Monday, February 28, our General Secretary of Rotary International, John Hugo, called together a virtual meeting, a Zoom meeting. There are some things that Zoom is good for these days. There are many things that it's not good for, but there's some things that Zoom is good for. He called together a meeting on short notice that included Rotary leaders, governors and past district governors from Ukraine, from the bordering countries of Eastern and Central Europe, the Rotary International directors from Europe, the Rotary Foundation trustee from Denmark, and the Rotary Foundation trustee from Alabama. How did that Alabama guy get in the mix? Well, it just so happens that I have some Ukrainian heritage, and I have distant relatives that live in the western part of Ukraine. And part of my family emigrated from Ukraine to Canada 120 years ago. And so I have some interest. And in that 1 hour, we devised a concept to take over our existing disaster response grants fund and solicit contributions for Ukraine to be used for disaster relief in Ukraine. And so that was a Monday. On Wednesday of that week, so that would be Wednesday, March the 2nd, the executive committee of the trustees of the Rotary Foundation met and approved a plan that had been devised within the 48 hours that the staff had put together, with an expectation that maybe we'd collect maybe $1 million. And that was announced the next day on March the 3rd. February 24th to March the 3rd. That was announced worldwide that all contributions to the Disaster Response Fund received in the rest of March and all of April would be used for disaster response in Ukraine. And we thought, $500,000 to $1 million. At the end of April, there were $15.3 million collected. We had touched the nerve of Rotarians around the world. They wanted to respond to this situation. And by the end of that last by the end of last calendar year, all of that money had been spent on disaster response projects in and around Ukraine. We have in the Rotary Foundation a disaster response fund that I just mentioned that we hijacked temporarily for Ukraine. We receive contributions, and then if a disaster occurs, we send out money in $25,000 grants to a local district. I suspect such a grant was awarded to District 6820 at the time of the tornadoes and storms here in central Mississippi. Maybe more than one. And the governor is nodding his head yes, so I'm right. But we have found that when huge disasters happen, Rotarians want to contribute to those specific disasters. And so the trustees have now established a program where we will have specific funds where we solicit money specifically for a disaster that will be used exclusively for that disaster. And of course, we learned from the Ukraine situation. So we now have what I call Ukraine 2, where we have another fund. Then we have the Turkey-Syria fund for dealing with the earthquakes in Turkey and Syria. And then the Pakistan Floods Fund. Now, unfortunately, the Pakistan Floods Fund didn't get set up till a year after the floods, and you got to have it within like 48 hours after the disaster if you're going to be terribly successful. But last year alone, in the last Rotary year, ending June 30th, Rotarians contributed another $1.4 million to the Ukraine #2 disaster response fund, $2.7 million to the Turkey-Syria earthquake fund, $334,000, you notice the smaller amount, to the Pakistan Floods Fund, and another $1.36 million to the General Disaster Fund. So last year alone, Rotarians contributed $5.8 million to address disasters around the world. And you know, disasters have been a very tough issue for Rotary to deal with. We are not a disaster response organization, a disaster relief organization. You can go back through the minutes of the boards of directors of Rotary International and of the trustees of the Rotary Foundation, and there are probably, back to the 1920s, and there are probably 80 different decisions where here's how we're going to deal with disaster. Here's how we're going to deal with disaster. Well, I'm biased right now, but I think we have finally hit on the right formula to address Rotary's response to disasters. We have the General Disaster Response Fund, which provides one at a time $25,000 grants. And then we have the opportunity to have specially designated disaster response funds for disasters of magnitude that affect more than 1 million people and that have worldwide attention. And I think we have hit on the formula. But, 3 years from now, I'll probably find out that something different needs to happen. Anyway, in addition to what I've described today, we have our global grant program where clubs and districts partner with clubs and districts in another part of the world to fund humanitarian projects in the 7 areas of focus, and district grants that provide funding to clubs within the district to use for local projects. And how is all of this connection possible? Well, this connection is possible because of your financial support. You knew I was going to get to that sooner or later, didn't you? Your financial support. And why should you contribute to the Rotary Foundation? Well, first off, it's the charitable organization of Rotary. You love Rotary. You love coming here and listening to this yokel from Alabama talk. You love getting together with your fellow leaders in your community here in Starkville. You need to support that organization as well. Why should you support it? Because you can trust the Rotary Foundation. There are organizations in this country, there are charitable organizations, and there are organizations that watch charitable organizations to grade them on how they are handling their activities. And one of those measurement organizations is an entity called Charity Navigator. And Charity Navigator has a 4-star rating, 1, 2, 3, or 4 stars. It's kind of like the hotels, and we want 4 stars. Well, the Rotary Foundation has received a 4-star rating from Charity Navigator for 15 consecutive years. And another evidence of the trust that you should have in the Rotary Foundation is the partnership that we have with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Now, separate apart from whatever the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation may stand for, once every year, they trust the Rotary Foundation so much that before we actually raise the matching money, the $50 million for polio eradication, they wire transfer $100 million in one single payment to the Rotary Foundation. Now, can you imagine being the comptroller for for the Rotary Foundation, the person who keeps up with the bank accounts, and you leave the office one day and you have $2 million in the bank account. You get to the office next day and it's $102 million in the bank account. I wish that could happen to me. But anyway, that's how much the Gates Foundation trusts the Rotary Foundation. So I encourage Starkville and all Rotarians to continue your support of the annual fund, that money that gets spent 3 years later on grants. Last year, the year that just ended June 30th, this club contributed $18,700, $128 per capita. President Bob, I'm challenging you to get that club get this club maybe up to $150 per capita in support of the foundation. No pressure, no pressure. Continue your support for Polio Plus. Last year, this club contributed $2,538 to polio eradication. I'd like this club to consider a goal of $30 per capita for support. What would that be? Around $22,500. I'm sorry, not that much. Anyway, $4,500 to the, I'm getting my multiplication and stuff. $4,500 to Polio Plus. And finally, I ask you to consider your legacy for Rotary with a significant commitment to the endowment fund. We are in the final years of an effort that we are calling 2025 by 2025. In 2016, the trustees established a goal that our endowment, in terms of assets in hand and what we expect with, commitments that would probably come at a Rotarian's death, would be $2.025 billion by 2025. Isn't that a little cutesy, 2025 by 2025? I didn't make it up. But who's going to be the chair of the trustees in 2025? This guy right here. And I want us to meet that goal, where we have net assets plus commitments of $2 billion. Right now, as of 4 months ago, 5 months ago, our net assets were $646 million. With the way the stock market's gone up lately, it's probably a little more than that. We have expectancies of $929 million. So we have a total of $1.575 billion. So we're only $450 million short. And Mark DiBiase, that's pocket money for him. And so I'm expecting a major commitment anyway. With your support, no pressure. With your support, we can, as President Gordon McAnally has asked us to do, create hope in the world. As the Rotary Foundation continues to connect the world for years to come. I thank you for this opportunity to be with you here today to tell you a little bit about the great work of your Rotary Foundation. Thanks for your hospitality. Thanks to Stuart. Thanks to President Bob. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Mark, we want to thank you for spending your time with us today at Starkville, and we always give our speakers a donation in their honor to the Starkville Foundation for Public Education, but also Starkville Rotary is giving $1,000 to the Mark MBA Endowment Fund of the Rotary Foundation.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Great work of Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation. It's exciting to be a part of that. Before we dismiss today, OYL students, before you leave today, please come to the stage for a photo. We will document your first day with us. Also, the flowers at each table, they need to be taken home with someone at your table. So we don't want to create a riot, but some y'all figured out a table among yourselves of who gets the flowers. But we really want to thank Zachary's and Mike Kunkel for getting all of this together, and Stu Vance for spearheading all of this. It's been a great meeting. So next time we we will have Matt Labahan. I really watched WCBI, so I really don't know how to say his name. From WTVA, the meteorologist will be our guest speaker. Also a reminder that our new prospective club members will meet at walk-ons this afternoon from 5 to 6:30. And I think that's it. Please stand and state our motto.